hello everybody, and thank you for joining us. I am Citlali Ortiz.
I am Mayra Garrido.
And we're going to be talking about DACA's advanced parole today. So we're just going to be answering questions that you all might have regarding advanced parole or anything that you guys want to share with us. If you have any questions, we're going to mainly be covering the most frequently asked questions that have been coming up on our social media accounts. But feel free at any time to just comment and give us those questions so we can go ahead and answer them. Yeah, so I'll let Mayra take on. We're going to start off on about our campaign, how it started, why we're here today, and pretty much what we've been doing.
So the reason why Advanced Parole campaign was started was because we saw the need that individuals such as DACA recipients, they needed a permit called Advanced Parole, which was taken away when DACA was rescinded. And we started seeing cases of many DACA recipients who had family, either they lost a loved one or that they had sick or ill family members. And we saw that there was a lot of need to have this permit back. And that's the reason why we began the campaign. Right now, we started the program and we have had a total of more than 100 plus applicants. And while we're interviewing them, we're learning more and more that there's a huge need to have this permit back. We have stories of someone who recently lost their mother, whose grandparents are very ill. So things like that, we want to make sure that USCIS knows that there's a great need to have this permit back. And that's why we have our national campaign.
Yeah, so we're just going to start a little bit from the top. The campaign began in January of 2019 with our first group of dreamers who went to Washington, D.C. to advocate for advanced parole. There was 20 DACA recipients, like I said, from all around the country. Pretty much what we did in that trip, we advocated with different Congress members. We visited offices, we visited senators, and Congress members' offices to ask for a letter of support from each, to be signed by each Congress member to show and to be sent to USCIS, sorry. We were luckily able to get a letter from Alan Lowenthal's office as well as a letter from Kamala Harris, and it was signed by a number of Congress members, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and many others, So after that January trip, everybody came back to their place, but there was still nothing. Nothing was done. Advanced parole was not back. And we really did need, we heard so many cases, so many stories of people needing advanced parole, which is why we decided to go back in June of 2019, so this past month, with now like 30 dreamers from all around the country again. And it was a great experience. We were able to hit a lot more offices and able to get more support from Congress. Unfortunately, we haven't received anything from DHS, so the advanced parole permits are not being accepted still, which is why we decided to begin this new advanced parole campaign, and we are encouraging and we're assisting people with the advanced parole applications. So currently Mayra is handling many cases. She has been the one that has been interviewing most people. And she has heard so many cases of people that have family members that are dying abroad and they're unable to go see their families, right? They're unable to go see, I don't know, a mom, a dad that has died or is in a bad state, and they're not able to go. But we also see the educational side of it, right? There is so many people that have opportunities abroad that are unable to take them, or they take them and they leave and they're not able to come back into the U.S. So that's why we're doing this. And yeah, so please let us know if you guys have any questions so we can start answering them. If not, we're going to go with a list of questions that we have prepared for this.
I think something that I wanted to add was that on our second trip to Washington, D.C., there was more of the need of the education advanced parole. In the initial time where we went in January for advanced parole, we were advocating under humanitarian reasons. But seeing on our second trip that there were so many individuals, some of our DACA recipients that were approved or they had the opportunity to enter either a master's program, and they had to decide to leave the U.S. without having any type of parole to be let back once their program was finished. And we really saw the need of, when you're leaving abroad, you're sort of excited and because you've been accepted into a program, and some of them had to deal with the reality that they weren't even sure if they were going to be let back. We already had one of our participants who she left, and there's no guarantee that she is going to be able to be let back into the country. She did have her application of advanced parole submitted, but as of right now, we're not really sure where her application stands. We're not sure if it's even going to make a difference because she already left. But she made that choice because she was, she really wanted to take part into this program, and she wanted to just take that opportunity. And there's many individuals who have done that, who have self-deported.
Now we have to talk about advanced parole having canceled. Why are you telling people to?
So just go ahead and say it out loud, the question. Mm-hmm. So some of the questions that we had is, I thought advanced parole had been canceled. Why are you telling people to apply for it? Okay, so yes, advanced parole was canceled. And the reason why we're advising or just telling people if they do want to apply for advanced parole is to pressure USCIS to let them know that there's so many of us that still have the need to basically use advanced parole under humanitarian, educational, and we have even seen some employment applications. The reason being is that there is a U.S. District Court order that states that that USCIS has to grant advanced parole under deserving cases. And that's what we're trying to prove. If we have someone who lost a parent, who has somebody who's ill, and they have to go see them and they have to be there for them, shouldn't that be a deserving case? And they're not doing that. USCIS isn't granting any type of advanced parole, but the court usually, it states that they have to do it, and so they're not following the U.S. court order.
Yeah. So, just following back on what she said, a lot of people are confused because they heard of the advanced parole being rescinded. What our campaign is doing, like she said, is to pressure. Every single application that we get is a story. Like every application that is there is alive, right? So it's just to show that how many people really need it. And I know we can share some cases, right, of some people that we've been getting. And I had somebody that called to ask a question, because their mother had just passed away on Saturday, and they were in Mexico, and the person was here. So just imagine if advanced parole was available, he would have been able to leave and see his mother at the funeral, right? But just like that, we have so many cases, and that is the main reason why we want to help, because people are going to leave with or without advanced parole. We also know a DACA recipient who came with us in the June 2019 advocacy trip, and he was deciding to leave, whether he was granted advanced parole or not, to pursue a master's in Spain. Just like that, we've had I think two more people that are also leaving for a master's in Spain. And it's like, whether or not we get it, we're going to leave because we're pursuing our dream. But I think that's the main reason, we want to file those cases, and if it is necessary, we're going to use this to go into litigation, right? So that's the main thing, is to add pressure and to use it for litigation. Another thing that we had, this actually came right out of one of our social media accounts. It was a comment and we posted something, and then somebody commented this, and it was more of a comment other than a question, but we just want to share it with you guys either way. It said, attention, many attorneys across the country are not encouraging impacted folks to apply for advanced parole. So below is an FAQ sheet that is released by the UC Immigrant Legal Services, and they state that you should not apply. So what do we say, right? All we are doing is encouraging those that have urgent need to apply. If you have an urgent need, you should apply because you have a paper trail. You are documenting the need. It is not risky to apply for advanced parole. It's a whole process. First you apply, and whether or not you get granted, you decide if you want to go. You don't just leave the country like that. Right? So we're helping in every single step of the process. We do have a legal counsel who we are talking to when there is a risky case coming up. There are people that we are talking to. So that was kind of just more of a comment. People are worried that you should not apply, but it's sometimes it's about your story, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't know what somebody else has been through that they need to get advanced parole to leave the country. And that's pretty much what we're doing. We really just want to help out the people that do have that urgent need.
I just wanted to share a little bit. When I tried applying for advanced parole for the first time, I met with the immigration staffer from Nanette Barragan, and they were just like asking, they were saying, why are you trying to apply for advanced parole if they're not granting it right now? And there's not even any cases that we're aware of in the system. So I kind of just said, there's obviously that's even a bigger reason for me to apply, because they need to know that this is happening, that many of us are losing family members, and we just have to we're just there lost, not knowing what to do. And some people will just say, you know what? Well, they're not granting advanced parole. There's nothing I can do. Well, I wanted to be one of those people who wanted to do something about it. I didn't just want to stand there in the time where I had lost my dad and just take it as, okay, this is it. There's nothing left to do. I wanted to be the one to say, hey, you know what? Why aren't they doing this? It's inhumane. I felt like I had the right to say goodbye to my father. So there's so many people in the same situation. And today we don't know how we're good one day, and we don't know if we may lose a loved one for tomorrow. Well, we don't really know. So we want to be able to not just advocate for ourselves, but advocate for others who are in this situation. And that's one of the main reasons that although there is no advanced parole in place, we want to be able to take it back, because there was no part in where they said, like, what was the main reason why they took it away? Like, this is something that we really needed, because there's a lot of cases of humanitarian reasons why we should have it back. So it's really important that we keep pushing for this. Something we already had. It's not something new that we're asking for. It's something that we already had in place. So why is it so difficult to get it back?
Yeah. So it's just so that people understand, the real need of it. Another comment that was in our social media, one of our social media accounts was, and like I said, these are comments, but it's kind of like a question and something that we want to respond to, right? And this person said, this is a terrible idea, preying on the desperation of DACA recipients to sign them up for something that they're clearly not eligible for. That's legal malpractice. So in the first part of this, there's a lot of parts to this, but the first part of it is preying on the desperation of DACA recipients to sign them up for something they're not eligible for. So there's two answers to that. And the first answer to that would be that there is no program fee. The DACA recipients that apply with our program, our assistance to them is free. So we're not charging you for applying to our program. We're doing interview with you. We are looking at your application page by page. We're doing follow-up calls with you. We're helping you get supporting documents at no cost. So we're not charging anybody. So that's one thing. And then the second thing, it says that they're not eligible for this advanced parole. So there has been a disclaimer in everything that we send out, every document that is sent out to an applicant. There is always a disclaimer that we know that advanced parole is not 100% guaranteed. But people are eligible for advanced parole. The requirements that are for advanced parole, the DACA recipients, we go through everything with them, and if they are eligible for them, they can apply. So that's just two things we wanted to clear up. And then they also mentioned that it was a legal malpractice if there even is a lawyer involved, which I doubt. That's what the comment said. We actually do have a legal counsel that, like I mentioned earlier, that we are referring other cases to. So for example, if there's a risky case or if there is a question we have, we ask the legal counsel. So yeah, those are just some of the things.
I kind of wanted to. So as Citlali mentioned, there is an interview, and during the interview process, we're asking you about how did you enter the U.S.? Do you have any type of misdemeanor, DUI? Do you have a pending legal case? And have you been fingerprinted? All of these things we want to know, because we don't want to put you in a situation where if you are granted advanced parole, that you're going to be staying in Mexico and not be able to come back. So we take this process very seriously, because we want to be able to have every participant that if we are able to get these applications granted, we want them to be able to come back. But we do ask, also, we want to know if your DACA expires anytime soon, because the application process for DACA is very different from advanced parole. There are some individuals who may be granted DACA, but advanced parole, maybe they had a pending legal case or they were deported, so they are not able to apply for advanced parole. So we make sure that whoever has those type of issues, they are not applying for advanced parole. And again, as Citlali mentioned, we are consulting with our legal counsel.
Yeah, and sorry, I just want to check here that we're not getting questions because nobody has been asking anything, but it says we have 8 comments, so give me a second. Oh, I see. Okay, so I see we have some, oh, thank you. So it's mainly just people sharing, so thank you guys for watching. I just wanted to double check we didn't have any questions popping up. Okay, so it's just, thank you guys all for watching. So people, we just read the comments now because they weren't popping up. So then another frequently asked question that we've seen a lot on our social media is, what is considered an urgent humanitarian need? And I don't know if you want to answer that.
Yes, an urgent humanitarian need would be, say that you're either lost a loved one and you have to go take care of any legal matters or pending affairs. That would be one of them, as well as if you have an ill family member, so say if your grandmother's sick or if a parent is sick. That's another way, because sometimes, unfortunately, we have family members who don't have any other type of help, and you need to be there for them. That's another humanitarian reason. We also have educational, or do you want to add something more to
So this one, so the question was, what is considered an urgent humanitarian case? And then did you mention the death?
Oh yeah, if you have a death of a loved one, and all of this serves as purpose because it's able to be documentable. So you want to be able to prove that there is an urgency for you to visit that family member.
So for the death of somebody, it might seem as if there's no reason to go anymore, but the real reason, you might have to go settle their affairs, right? So that is an actual humanitarian case as well. As long as, what we mean by documentable, you have to have like a birth and death certificate, and if they're ill, you have to have like a doctor's notes. Keeping track of everything is really important because all of these are part of the supporting documents that you need. And give me a second, let me just share it, actually. Let's share it. Just share it, okay. So, and we're just sharing it so more people can tune in. But yeah, like we were saying, we have humanitarian cases. We also have, like she said, educational and employment. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about those.
So on the basis of educational, you want to make sure that if you are applying, you have either been accepted into a program, because there are a few individuals who have applied, but unfortunately they have not been accepted into a program. So make sure that you have been accepted and you have a letter of acceptance, maybe your schedule, so if you have proof that basically you have a purpose for you going abroad. On the basis of employment as well, the same thing follows, that you have to have proof that you have to be going for work purposes, and basically like a letter of your employer. That also works as well.
Yeah, so like she said, always having the documents is really important. You can't just submit an application with no documentation. And then I also want to answer another question. Yes.
Did you answer Diego Martinez? He just left a message. They say, is there good support from congressmen and congresswomen for all the applications?
Yes.
Have any of them expressed that they would take action when all these applications are sent in?
Okay, so the Congress members, let me backtrack. So when we send an application, an advanced parole application, the process of doing that is getting all the documents together, right? So yes, Congress members are supporting and they are giving letters of support. So a letter of support from your Congress member is sent with the advance parole application. Currently we're helping people right now getting those letters. And I know somebody just contacted us today saying, my Congress member is Republican, like what do I do, right? So right now they're going to be reaching out to them, and if that doesn't work, we're also going to be talking to them. And you know, sometimes a Congress member won't want to, but we can always try to send it over. And second, second, are they supporting? Most Congress members are supporting of advanced parole and the process. Like I said, we've had in total, I believe, 66 Congress members that have signed on to the Kamala Harris and Lowenthal letter. And those are letters, you know, asking USCIS to reinstate advanced parole. So we have currently, you know, on these two letters that were part of the DC trips that we did, we've had a lot of signatures on them. So there's already members that are supporting the campaign and supporting advanced parole. So yes, there are Congress members and there are letters that are being given to the applicants so that they can go with their application. When we send in the advanced parole application, it includes a Congress member's letter of support, a letter of support from our organization, their supporting documents. So whatever the person needs, they get their supporting documents. And we try to put in as much support as we can. So if you can get a letter, if they're from California, from Kamala Harris's office, which is something that we've been doing as well. If they're from Long Beach, if they're from Lowenthal's office, we try to get a letter from him. And yeah, so yeah, it's supporting. I don't know why I can't see the questions. Hi, Nayeli. Okay, so we have another question here. It says, my brother applied for advanced parole in July 2017, and his case is still open for humanitarian to see his grandfather. Hope the cases that are open will help.
I agree.
Yeah, hopefully, you know, they're still looking at those cases, and it'll help, and it'll show, you know, there's still people that have applied before and there's still nothing going on. And I don't know if Mayra wants to share a little bit about her story and her application, actually.
Yes, but first off, I just wanted to thank for the people who donated. There's 2 of you guys, so thank you so much. It's Carlos Gonzalez. Thank you so much for donating. And then also Vicky's, I'm sorry, I'm going to say your last name wrong, Sense Brown. So thank you so much for you guys donating. It's really important for us because with these donations, we actually are helping DACA recipients who are applying, who don't have the funds to apply for advanced parole. So thank you guys so much. And as Igali mentioned, I'm just going to share a little bit about my story. I actually applied for this program with the CalMexCenter for winter 2017, which was supposed to happen from December to January 2018. And unfortunately, obviously because of DACA being rescinded, the program was canceled. So my father actually passed away January 2018, and I actually applied for advanced parole. It was the same day that my dad passed away. I made the decision to apply for advanced parole, and I was asking for his birth and death certificate. I was gathering all of the supporting documents that I needed, and I went into the USCIS office, and unfortunately they told me that because DACA was rescinded, they weren't even taking any type of advanced parole, that they were only doing advanced parole under humanitarian reasons. So I told them that I thought my father passing away was my humanitarian case, and they still didn't do anything about it. I applied for a second time with a lawyer, and she was able to help me submit the application, and they sent me, after the application being in the system for a few months, they sent me a letter of intent to deny, and we filed again another application for them to reopen the case and reconsider it. So as of right now, my application is still in the system, but I really feel like in my case and many other people's cases, it's really difficult to know that you lost someone. For me, losing my dad was something really difficult. Obviously, like I had suffered a few losses where I had lost a grandparent and an uncle in Mexico, so that was difficult. But losing my father was something really difficult for me. So I had to deal with the loss and the grieving. But on top of that, I also had to think about that I wasn't going to be able to see him. And that was even more difficult for me because I felt that for me to see him should have been like my own decision. It shouldn't have been someone else's decision. So I felt really upset when I left the office, because the USCIS office, because I thought my case was like a humanitarian reason. And throughout this entire time, all I had been proving is that I want to know what for them, for the USCIS office is considered for one to be deserving. So I feel like with this entire campaign, that's what we're trying to show, that there are many deserving cases that just need for advanced parole to be reinstated.
Yeah, so just like that, we have many cases, and we do want to talk about a little bit about the background of the organization and what CMSC was doing before this campaign began. So actually, the California Mexico Study Center had a program called California Mexico Dreamers Study Abroad Program, and what this program was, it was started at Cal State Long Beach with the professor Armando Vázquez Ramos. And what he was doing, he was taking dreamers to study abroad in Mexico. So they did the same thing. They applied with advanced parole for educational purposes. And they were taken to Mexico, and I believe that there was about 6 trips, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
There was about 6 trips to Mexico. And in August, I believe, of 2017, there were 75 applications that were submitted. Mayra had submitted hers. She was one of them. But they are still pending applications, right? So those 75 people that were supposed to go in December of 2017 were not accepted. Their applications were not. They were administratively closed. That's the language that was used, and the money was returned, right? The money was returned, but we still have, those people that are still wanted to go, and because of advanced parole not being available, they weren't able to.
And I have a question. I don't know if you all already covered, but can you, especially Mayra, can you go over the court order that in the language that is in that court order, and that's why there's an opening for us to kind of like still be able to have applications approved because of what the court order from the San Francisco said. Can you go over that a little bit more?
So this is in the United States District Court Order for the Northern District of California. So in their page number 46, it clearly states, and this is from line 14 to 15, and it states, nor does this order bar the agency from granting advanced parole in individual cases if it finds it deserving. So this is what we're grabbing onto, is that they're saying that basically they should be granting advanced parole for deserving, if they find it a deserving case. Now, in my case, losing my father was something that I felt was deserving. But not only that, I actually have grandparents who are very ill. My grandpa has cancer. So I still have a reason for me to go to Mexico and be there with my grandparents when they need me. And I feel like that should be deserving. I go to school. I recently graduated from the University of Dominguez Hills with a bachelor's degree in business administration. So I have been helping in my community. What I have done, I feel like, proves that I am a deserving case. And we want to see what for USCIS means for them to be deserving, because we have many cases in the system that clearly prove that these are individuals who have a really dire need and that they are deserving. So what for USCIS is considered to be deserving, because they're not accepting these cases. Like, isn't it enough for one to lose a loved one and to be needing to say goodbye to them or to be there when they're ill? Isn't that enough, like, for them to be deserving?
Yeah. So pretty much what the campaign has been holding on to a lot of the times has been this court order, right? Because it's a court order. Like, you're supposed to accept the deserving cases, and no application is being accepted. So obviously there's something wrong there, and that is another reason why we're telling people to apply if they have a case, if they really have an urgent need, because all of that means that there is there's a case there, you know, there's a reason. What is deserving to you? Obviously, we don't know what that means to them, but we are trying to follow. You know, this is what the court order is saying. A San Francisco order in a San Francisco court. Sorry. So why isn't it being accepted?
And I think for the individuals who are saying, like, why are you asking people to apply? It is because of this court order. And we have, obviously, if you guys want it, you can also look it up. But it is because of these words that we grasp on so much, because they're supposed to be granting it, and they're not. And they're not following the court order. So that's what we believe. If we put all of these cases into the system, that we will be able to pressure USCIS to follow that, because it's stated there. This is not something that obviously we're like, hey, you know, we're just thinking about it. And this is this is in the court order, and they're supposed to follow it.
Yeah, so we're just gonna move on a little bit, since I'm trying to see if we have any more questions. Thank you. Gracias, Julie. Thank you to everybody else that is tuning. Thank you, Janet, for your support. And we're just going to continue on to the next question. So something that has also been asked is, how can we get involved? How can we be part of the campaign, right? So firstly, if you are a DACA recipient and if you do have an urgent need, we encourage you to apply. We're going to be sharing all of the links. We have a Google Forms that you can fill out so we can start following your case. Second of all, we also want to tell you all to go ahead and check out our website. Follow us on social media. Most updates are always on social media and on our websites. So stay on track with that. And we are also going to be going over, we're going to be directing you guys to see the FAQ website, because that's where most questions are posted. We also want to go ahead and just go question by question on the frequently asked ones. So we kind of already covered most, but
one more thing, just before you go into that, I know that there's new people who just joined us. Can you explain again a little bit briefly what the program is, our assistance program that we have, and then go into the details and the process, how it's going to be, and also the fact that if their applications get accepted and they get immediately declined, how they will get their money back from USCIS, but if they do get processed, most likely they're not going to.
Yeah.
So just go over those details and explain what the program is, so that way people who just joined us can understand.
Yeah. So pretty much, like she mentioned already, the applications that we're sending, if they are not processed, which was the case, right, for the 75 applications that we sent in 2017, they weren't processed and they were just closed, administratively closed. So that means that the money was sent back to the people. So Mayra was one of them, and she received her money back. But when she applied, you applied for your father's death. So, and that time her money was not given back because there was an intent to deny.
There was my application had gone through the process where they were deciding that my case was not landing under humanitarian reasons, which is crazy to me. But yeah, as Itlali mentioned, that there's two ways that the application can go. They can either decide not to process your application, that's when your money is given back, or they can decide to process your application and give you a reason of intent to deny, which is a few of the applicants actually did have some applications in the system, and they did receive this letter. What you can do after you receive this letter is for you to file a motion to reopen your case, which is what I did, and my case is still in the system.
Sorry, it might be a little loud, so we can see that over again. Sorry about that. So you pretty much kind of wrapped it up already. But yeah, there's just two ways. You know, it doesn't hurt to apply, and if it's not processed, you get your money back.
I think something that I heard is that people are saying, well, if it's gonna get rejected, then why even apply? You want to apply because you want USCIS to see that there's a lot of need for it, that there's a lot of individuals who need this permit. obviously, so they can see that there's people losing family members abroad, and that there's the need for educational purposes. So people are able to, so they're able to see like there's a lot of dreamers who need this permit back, and that's how it's going to bring pressure. If they see that there's only 1 or 2 applications in the system, they're not going to think that there's a need for it. And a lot of the times we came across Congress representative who they didn't even think there was a need for this. So a lot of people were just surprised that this is even happening, but we want to let them know that this is actually something that's very real happening. And unfortunately, there's people on a daily basis that are losing loved ones and that they're not able to see them, but they're still applying. So maybe there is a chance that they might accept it. We don't know what the outcome is going to be. Mm-hmm. If you want to ask us, like, how long is it going to take? We don't know. Is it going to be accepted? We don't know. There is no certainty that this is going to be granted, but we're hoping that with the efforts, we will get something granted, or at least we get this documented saying that there's a need for advanced parole.
Yeah, and specifically she mentioned the timeline, right? The dates. I know you mentioned that we don't know the dates. Mm-hmm. So it's different for every case, and if they are processed, obviously the time is going to be very different. So like we're saying, nothing is 100% guaranteed. We are not telling you that your application is going to be processed, but this is a risk, right? This is a fight, and DACA recipients are in need of advanced parole, which is why we're asking you all to apply if you really do have that need. If there's something you really have to do outside and you need to apply, then do it. I lost my thought, but I was going to say something else, and I just want to make sure. I want to read off of this. So we covered if the money will be refunded. We want to talk a little bit about the actual process of the application. So how much does the application cost? How do I apply? What happens? All of that stuff. So originally the form is the I-131 form, and you can find that on the USCIS website. Secondly, the application to submit, you have to submit your application with a check or a money order of $575. So to apply for advanced parole is $575, and those are pretty much the logistics of it. How do you apply? So you pretty much just fill out the form. Once you have everything, the supporting documents filled out and everything together, you mail it out to USCIS along with the check. And I think that's it. I don't know if you have more.
Yes. Oh, one of the most important things as well is for you to make sure you have your supporting documents. So given if it's a humanitarian parole, type of parole, then you want to make sure you have your doctor's letters, make sure that those doctor's letters or any type of medical records are translated into English, and you can actually do that yourself. Get a signature saying that you're competent in English, as well as maybe for the educational, you want to make sure you have your acceptance letter, your schedule, anything that proves that you were accepted into that program. Also, you want to make sure you get your letters of support. So if you go to a university, get a letter of support from your university. You can also, the most important one would be, I would say, is get your letter of support from your representative. And the reason why you want to receive a letter of your support from your rep is because they're able to advocate on your behalf to USCIS.
I have 2 questions from the audience. Whenever you're ready, I can.
We're ready.
Yeah, I think we're ready now.
Okay, so Luis Perez, he was one of the 75 selected participants from the Winter 2017 program. And his application obviously was suspended, as we all know. And he's asking, if advanced parole is reinstated, is the California-Mexico Study Center going to continue taking dreamers abroad? And if so, do people who were already selected, do they have to apply again?
Okay, so once we know if everybody is getting accepted, if advanced parole is back, I think we're going to give further updates on that, right? Whether we're going to be doing the same study abroad program or maybe expanding it, doing something different. I know that the professor wanted to do some different things as well, so it might continue.
No, it will continue. It will continue. Yes,
so,
that's the understanding.
And so it will continue, but we have to note that it is going to be accepted, that everybody is going to be approved.
Just so you guys know, for the 75 participants, the CMSC has been advocating so much for these cases. In the recent letter of support from Kamala Harris, there is even a part where we mentioned the 75 participants of the applications that were in the system and that were basically administratively closed. So there's constant advocacy for us, for the 75 participants, because if our application, like, we had everything and basically all those people were ready to go and their applications were submitted and they just closed it without really giving us a reason, rather than DACA was rescinded.
And they were submitted before September 5th, which was the official announcement. So,
I heard some individuals actually were able to get their advance parole granted even after the September 5th. So I'm not sure why they decided not to grant our advance parole if it was before the DACA being rescinded.
Yeah, so there must have been, we don't know what happened. But all we're saying is that if advanced parole comes back, of course, we want to continue that program or something similar. And also the second question the person had, right?
Reapply.
They will have to reapply. Most likely, yes, because they will be a different program. But we will give them high priority.
Obviously, if you were part of the 75, or if you were part of any of the previous trips, right? We want to give you priority to come again, and we still have to make it reapply because maybe laws changed or something personally changed.
And new letters
for
of
you.
Support too.
So if something changed for you, we want to go through the same process. Was there any misdemeanors,
DUIs?
So we just want to go through that, and if there was, then there might be like risky for you to do it, but mainly yes, if it is continued, the 75 will be given priority.
Also, there's another question from Emmanuel Alvarez, and he says, do you guys know, are cases being processed at the moment? If not, why? And thank you.
Okay, so first of all, we just want to say we're not looking at the questions here. So thank you for giving us the questions. And if they're not being processed, you said?
So if advanced parole applications are actually being processed, and we know of a couple cases that have been processed.
Yeah, so we actually had the girl that came in. Her application was processed and she was given an intent to deny. So just like Mayra's as well, her application was also processed and she was also given an intent to deny. So yes, applications are being processed by USCIS.
And then
but there are also some that are not, and that's when you're getting your money returned.
Yeah, and also I just want to mention real quick, what was I gonna say? Shoot! Oh my God, I had it right now. I swear I had it like right now. All of a sudden, it left my mind. Something about being processed. Oh yeah. Okay, so there is something right now that if you download the current application for advanced parole on the USCIS website, they still have the information and the questions about DACA, which is kind of weird and not discriminatory, but it's kind of interesting that they have updated it as of April 4th of this year, and that they re-uploaded the whole instructions and the form, and they have not gotten rid of the DACA policies in there. So we're wondering, why is it? If you're 100% sure that you're denying all of them,
then why
should you even have it there in the first place?
So for the people that don't know, can you explain a little bit more of what you mean by they still have the DACA stuff on it?
They still have the.
So if you go to the USCIS website right now and you download the advanced parole application, which is the I-131, and you download the instructions, that means that they're gonna they still have the information regarding DACA. Like it's saying, if you're a DACA recipient, go to the section and this is what you need and blah, blah, blah. So it still has the same information, even though it was updated this year.
Okay.
So we don't know why they're doing that. And as of right now, in terms of like filing the applications, there's only one section where they can file, and it's for humanitarian reasons. So yeah, that gets a little complicated, but that's why we're focusing on humanitarian cases as of right now.
I agree. That's something that was brought up before, saying that if they're not granting them, then why would they have that wording there?
Yeah. So obviously, because I think that, my personal opinion is that they're trying to protect themselves and saying like, oh, we still have this here. It's only deserving cases. So that's what they're going to use. It's not deserving enough. So that's a good question. Do we have any more questions before we end this? We're going to be ending this in about 15 minutes. So if there's any more questions, please. También preguntas en español. Si tienen preguntas, por favor, díganos para contestarlas. Y gracias a todos los que nos están apoyando ahorita. Estamos viendo sus comentarios.
Yeah, una cosa más. Can you explain the difference, like how advanced parole is not a legislative issue as of right now? So if DHS and USCIS wanted to continue receiving applications and approving them, they can. Yeah. Can you explain the difference? How is not require legislation? It doesn't require Congress
exactly
to do it?
So we've been saying this for so much time. Since we started visiting DC in January, we were telling them, you don't have to pass a bill to continue accepting advanced parole.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to pass a new law for advanced parole to continue happening, right? This is something that was there already. The only thing that has to happen is for USCIS to receive orders from the administration that they can continue accepting advanced parole. So there is no legislative, it's not something that can be with a law, it will be changed, because it's not legislative, like she mentioned. It's something that can happen, if the president wanted to, or if DHS wanted to, they could continue accepting the advanced parole application. So that's what she meant by it's not legislative. Yeah, so before we end this, we just want to check if we have any more questions. Because I see 25 comments, but I don't see any questions. Okay. So we don't have any questions as of now, but please, even if you don't have the question, but you think that somebody else might have it.
You have a burning comment.
Or a comment, because like we said, we've been, like I mentioned, we've been receiving some good comments. Obviously, we've also been receiving bad ones, but that's why we wanted to clarify that. Or is there something that you think you missed and you want us to answer? We can also do that. But yeah, if you guys have any more questions, comments, concerns, please share them with us so we can just address everything at once. And like we said, we're trying to throw the disclaimer out there in everything we do. We're not 100% sure that your advanced parole application is going to be accepted. We're using the cases to pressure, to show the need, that there is a need for advanced parole, but we're not sharing that you will be accepted. We also want to show you guys our shirts. Here you go. Restore Advanced Parole. So check these out. These were used in our last DC trip.
Whoever donates $75 in the next minutes, we're gonna.
So we have about 10 minutes. So please donate, and we can send y'all a free shirt that says Restore DACA's Advanced Parole. These shirts are promoted in all of our pictures that we took in DC with a group of 30 people. So 30 Dreamers, we all had these shirts on. So if you want to have one too, then donate.
Please. Of course, this is a clean shirt.
And also, can you all
no, it's my shirt, actually.
Can you all talk about the trip in DC that we're planning in November? Did you all touch upon that?
No.
So we actually haven't.
And that's also why we're also fundraising, because we want to take more. So basically all applicants.
Yeah, so right now, as you all know, and like we mentioned before, we have about 100 applicants right now. We have 100 applications that have been turned into our program. And what we want to do with each case is we want everybody that applied to come with us to DC in November so that we can advocate for their application. And that is another human story. It's another voice that Congress can hear, Senate can hear. And that is why we're going in November. So we're planning this trip for November of 2019, like around the second week. We're asking for you to donate if you can. We want to take as many people as we can so that we can share, like this is what's going on. These are the stories, these are the cases. If you guys stay tuned to our Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, you're going to be seeing how we're sharing stories of individual people and why they need advanced parole. So that is why we want to take this new trip to DC again and advocate and tell them, these are the people that really need it. So please donate if you can.
Just a little bit on our trips to DC. They are very eye-opening and they're very difficult for some of the DACA recipients that are sharing their story, because they constantly have to tap into that difficulty, to that memory of what they're going through. These are real human beings who are going through things that, they feel like, basically that they feel like they can't do anything because this permit isn't in place. So we have times where it's a lot like emotionally draining for us because we have to remember or just kind of think that we have a family member who is very sick and we can't be there for them. And that reminds us like why we're fighting for this. Also for people who are applying for educational purposes. I know one of our participants, it really got to me when he spoke that this was a great opportunity that he had to take it. You know, he had to follow his dreams. And it's sad that our reality right now is that if we leave, there's no chance of us coming back. Sometimes people are not going to be waiting. People are not going to be hoping for HR 6 to pass anytime soon. You know, there's a lot of promises, but that's all they really are right now. They're promises. And we are actually one of the only organizations who's actually doing something about this. So when people say, hey, you guys are preying on other individuals, no, we want to be able to help others. We ourselves are DACA recipients. You know, we want to be able to change this for others who have gone through what we're going through. Like, we don't want anybody else to be going through something like this. It isn't something easy. So that's what we're fighting for this. And going to DC, we're able to share our stories and speak to congressional representatives and why we need advanced parole back. And it's not an easy thing to be sharing our story, but we share because we want to avoid or help if we can in any way bring advanced parole back so others don't go through the difficult things that we're going through, because we're talking about emotional and we're talking about losing a loved one or having that person who's abroad, our family members who that there's ill and we don't know if they're gonna pass away. Those type of things are never easy to go through, and being undocumented and having DACA, and before we had this opportunity, that's what we're fighting for this.
Yeah, so I just want to go back. Did you have a comment?
I do have a little comment before we forget about that. And then we have a couple questions that we're going to be answering. Mayra, can you tell us about the impact of our advocacy trips?
I know I was going to mention
because Love Grant and the HR 6 new bill, they decided to include advanced parole because of our stories and our efforts. Can you just kind of like briefly touch upon that and how the power our stories are powerful and can make change as opposed to
Yes, as Lily mentioned, our stories are really powerful. In our first trip to Washington, D.C., we were able to share our stories. And because of this, because of our advocacy of advanced parole, they were able to put in the HR 6, if you guys have heard about HR 6, given that
Dream and Promise Act.
The Dream and Promise Act, they were able to include advanced parole. So our advocacy and our stories make a huge difference. So to think that because we were there really pouring our hearts out and sharing our difficulties, and that they were able to include that was a really huge win for us. To think that they are actually listening. People are listening to your story because it's something that's real, that's truly going on, and that they want to bring change. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are saying no, but there's so many people that are supporting us. There's so many congressional representatives that are there for us, that are listening to us, and to have advanced parole reinstate, to be put even in the HR 6, that's a huge win for us.
Yeah. So we're just going to continue going off the questions that we're seeing here. We see Diego Martinez said they had another question.
Yes,
can you find that one, Lily?
Yes, I have it here. Okay. So the question says, are there any people applying for employment reasons? Are there any cases of them being denied for employment reasons, like traveling abroad to be trained or others? I ask since it seems humanitarian and educational have been discussed. So basically, he's asking about.
There's actually 2 cases that we have right now that are under employment. So we are working along with them. Honestly, if you want to apply and your employer can provide that letter for you and you can pay the fee, then we are helping you. So there's not many cases, but we are helping those individuals who are applying for employment.
Who have documentable reasons. And that are kind of pressing in a way too. Like not for in 2 years, in 1 year, I'm planning on doing this. No, immediate.
So if you've been accepted or if your job has sent you to work abroad, please reach out to us so we can help you out. So thank you, Diego, for that question. And like
Francisco
I said, we also have
one. So yes, of employment, and if it's urgent and you have a documentable reason and you can pay the fees, go ahead and apply.
Okay, and there's
So,
also
since-
another question. From Francisco Antonio Sante. Can you guys repeat the requisites to apply for working abroad, please? Thanks.
So like we said, you have to have supporting documents. So what is a supporting document for employment, right? So that would be a letter from your employer or a letter from the employer that you're trying to go abroad, right? You have to be accepted, I believe, into whatever employment you want to go into. But I think those are the two basic requirements. And then after that, if you've been accepted to whatever thing, then we can start helping you and looking at your application. Because we do need that supporting documentation. You do have to have something abroad. But your question says, to apply for working abroad. So for working abroad for advanced parole, those are the requirements. So something documentable, a letter from your employer, or a letter, if you're not currently working with them, then a letter for whoever you're going to be hired by. We have another question. So we have another question right under that, and it says, under the new deserving case category, has any case been approved? So that we know, any case that we know of, no. Currently, no case has been approved. But yeah, no.
I think Mayra's case might be the longest running, I guess, how can I say, the longest open application. It's been over a year and a half.
It's been a year. I think he's kind of explaining also a deserving case. We don't know what they consider deserving as well. Like, that's what we're trying to find out. If one of the asks that we had when we went to Washington for the congressional representatives is that we wanted them to ask USCIS what they consider to be deserving. Because as of what we thought deserving, like, was under us losing a loved one or our loved one being sick, or obviously for if we want to pursue a career, we thought that would be deserving cases. Yeah. But as of now, we don't even know what USCIS is considering to be a deserving case.
Yeah. So I think what he meant also from the San Francisco court order that said deserving cases.
Yeah, we don't know.
From that time off, we don't know if any case has been accepted because it's been deserving enough. So no, we don't know that. But Mayra's case has not been accepted.
It's still in the system.
Yeah, it's still in the system. So we have another question from Karina Ruiz, and it says, what are the chances that we lose the application fee if advanced parole is denied? So we have previously spoken about this. Like we said, if your advanced parole application, thank you, Karina, by the way, if your advanced parole application is not processed, you will be given your money back. So the $575 fee will be given back to you. The money and the application, everything will be sent back to you. But if your application is filed and there is an intent to, deny or whatever they do, right? If it is processed, sorry, I said filed. If it is processed, then there's a chance that you will not receive your money back. So like Mayra, I keep putting Mayra's example because she applied twice for that. So the first time she applied with the 75 applicants, none of them were processed and their money was given back.
Yeah.
The second time she applied though for her father's death, yeah, it was processed and her money was not given back. So yeah, thank you guys for sharing.
Oh, hi Freddie Ramos. He's one of our applicants.
Okay, so yeah, we just want to send out because we're about to leave in a couple of minutes. So before we take off, we just want to remind everybody to apply. If you do have an urgent case, apply by July 31st. Please call for any questions. The best way to contact us is definitely giving us a call, emailing us, and we're going to share the phone number as well. So the phone number is, do we have it? No, we have it by hand, but give us a second. So we're going to share the numbers, okay? And we're going to be doing another Facebook Live. So please stay updated on our social media. I think that's the best way we can share this with you all. It's going to be available on our website. And we're going to be doing another call. So the office number, if you guys are interested, is going to be 562-430-5541.
And it's also on our CMSC website as well.
Yeah.
And is it
so please visit, it's at advancedparole.org. I'm going to say the number one more time if you guys didn't get it. It's 562-430-5541. Yeah, we're going to be doing another Facebook Live. So stay tuned for the next one.
Yeah, tell your friends, tell all the moms, because I found out about the CMSC because of my mom. So if you guys share to your moms,
And
to
I
your
also-
tias, to your everybody.
Yeah, I also wanted to share if you guys think we should do one in Spanish.
Yeah,
Please let us know in the comments if we should do one in Spanish.
para
Because we
las
are thinking,
mamás.
yeah, because that's how I heard about Profe too, through my mom. So
Our moms are strong. They've been looking everywhere.
So yeah, like honestly, like yeah, parents always looking.
Yeah.
So vamos a hacer un español, por favor. Si les quieren hacer si quieren que hagamos uno en español, también déjenoslo saber en los comentarios. Vamos a estar haciendo otro Facebook Live. A lo mejor lo hacemos mitad español, mitad inglés,
Sí.
o tal vez todo
Las
en
dos
español.
cosas, todo en
No
español.
sé, pero compartan
Dígale a las-
y donen, por favor, si pueden.
Sí.
Hagan donaciones también. Tenemos más preguntas.
Una pregunta de Manuel Álvarez. Dice, how do I get a shirt? So if you donate, even if it's $5 right now, well, actually no, 10. No, 15.
Let me see the shirt. Okay. So
We're
if
gonna
you
get you
want
one.
this shirt,
$30, guys.
donate today. Donate
Right now, you see the live version right there? Go
Donate.
ahead, do
There's
it.
a
And
button
then we'll,
there. Okay?
Yeah, donate, and then we'll send you an email, a message through Facebook so we
To
can
get
get
your
your
address.
information.
Oh, I see somebody's asking, what's the number, Leonardo? The number is 562-430-5541. Okay? Call us, let us know, or if you don't get it, just send us a message through Facebook.
And we're going to post it on the comment section
So
as
we're
well.
constantly answering questions on Facebook too.
Estefanía Solís said one
Oh,
in Spanish
okay.
would be great para las tías,
So
para
we're
las
gonna be
mamás,
doing that.
Para las abuelas.
para las
We're going to be
abuelas.
doing a Spanish one, okay? So, Jorge says one in Spanish would be great. Okay. So, our next Facebook Live is going to be in Spanish. Stay tuned. Tell your mom, your dad to
Your
join.
abuela.
Yeah.
Tell your abuela.
So, if you want a shirt, taking it back,
Tell your
donate.
vecina.
We didn't say this in Spanish, so si estas camisetas las vamos a estar regalando si hacen una donación a nuestra campaña. Si donan hoy, vamos a estar mandando estas camisetas a su casa. Por favor, hagan la donación y que sea más de, no sé, $5 porque también nos va a costar mandarla y ya se nos va a ir la donación ahí.
Qué regataderas son
Así
ustedes.
que por
No pasa
favor,
nada.
donen.
Es para una buena causa. Bueno, nosotros estamos bien felices que hay mucha gente que sí nos está apoyando en esta campaña porque todo lo que nosotros estamos haciendo, estás ayudando a muchas personas, no es solo para nuestros casos, sino para las personas de que pues es muy triste, para serles honesto, cuando yo estoy entrevistando a alguien y que ellos están contando su historia porque yo he pasado por eso, desafortunadamente, y uno pues se siente muy feo saber que otra persona está en la misma situación que tú y nosotros solo podemos ayudarle en esto. Nosotros estamos tratando lo más posible de apoyarlos en todo lo que necesiten. Yo siempre les digo, ¿saben qué? Miren, yo voy a estar ayudándoles en su proceso de principio hasta final. Si ustedes tienen alguna pregunta, díganme y yo voy a estar aquí para ayudarles. Entonces eso es lo que nosotros hacemos, por eso nosotros pedimos por sus donaciones porque hay unas personas que desafortunadamente no tienen los 575 y así es como uno puede ayudar. Si quien quite o si dice, no, saben que no tengo dinero, también necesitamos voluntarios. Así que siempre hay una manera de ayudar o pueden compartir nuestra campaña con alguien más, porque todavía queda de aquí hasta el miércoles, así que pueden compartir esta campaña, pueden dejarles de decir, ¿sabes qué? Esto está pasando, mira, si tú te urge ir a México o cualquier otra parte, porque tenemos personas de diferentes partes. Tenemos a alguien que es, she's from
Bolivia. Shout out to Lily.
Somebody
de
from
Bolivia.
South Korea.
El Salvador.
Alguien de South
Someone
Korea, de El
from-
Salvador.
Polandia, Poland, I think that's how you
Oh,
say
and
it.
we didn't even talk about the cases of people
Yeah.
who are actually leaving the country, but
Yeah.
that can
So
be
we
for
did
next.
talk a little bit.
Oh, you
about
did?
that.
Okay, great.
So now we're going to be ending this because it's 7:04. So we're going to
Unless
be...
you guys have any more
Yes.
questions.
And Profe will be joining us
Oh,
in the
yeah.
Spanish one next time.
So,
Profe Armando.
el live que vamos a estar haciendo es en español. Vamos a tener aquí al profesor Armando Vázquez Ramos. Así que, por favor, véanos. Denos más views.
Hashtag restore
Porque ahorita lo más creo
Hashtag
que
tag your
nuestros
friends.
views máximos fueron como unos 25. Para la otra vamos a
26,
tratar de
más.
hacer, yo creo que 100. Entonces, véanos y hay que mantenernos conectados. Gracias por su apoyo y gracias por estar
Muchas
viéndonos.
gracias.
Vamos a terminar aquí. Si tienen más preguntas, mándenoslas por nuestro mensaje o por email o llámenos también, ¿ok? Gracias, que tengan buen día. Bye.